Welcome. My computer tells me it's exactly 10 o'clock, and since we had so many good omens this morning with the internet working and displays being friendly to our devices, good morning, welcome. So many positive signs that it's going to be a great day, and I want to welcome everybody. So we'll start on time. My name is Christine Perret. I'm the Executive Director of the AR for Enterprise Alliance, and it's my pleasure to, on behalf of all the members, welcome you to this event, the AR in Strategic Enterprise event. It's the first public event that's organized by our organization, so I'm going to be explaining to you a little bit about how we see things. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the name of our event, the Strategic Enterprise. You know, it's one of those reverse engineering things. None of you do reverse engineering, do you? Where you start with something and you work backwards. Someone said, yeah, Arise, that sounds like a nice name. It has this kind of lift to it. And I said, well, we can't use that if it doesn't mean something. And so we said, yeah, Strategic Enterprise, that sounds good. And then backing into it, thinking, well, what is exactly a strategic enterprise? And I think we can debate that. Perhaps you can, clarify my definition. But I hope those of you in this room feel comfortable being called by this label. I think it's because you have seen the value and the need for emerging technologies to blend in with the people and the things, the objects that you have, the processes that you have developed. And you know that you've been making and you're going to continue to be making technology choices. And those choices that you make are going to impact many of the factors that your management and down to the employee on the shop floor care about. Not only their productivity, but their safety and many other factors that impact the bottom line and the health of our businesses today. And I think that a part of the strategic enterprise, every strategic enterprise has a heavy investment in information IT, and information systems, and these are now considered mission critical. Without them, your companies would not be successful. They're systems that are growing very rapidly. They have a lot of information. It's rich and deep, but it's disconnected from the physical world and the objects and the people. It's not that we can't access it, it's just that it's not contextual. In addition, I think that there's a lot of debate and people there's a lot of variation in the accuracy and the precision of the information that we have in these systems. Our investments are continue to try to improve the accuracy, and because our vision is that with good information we can be efficient, have better speed and lower costs. So in addition, I think a lot of information systems in organizations that you lead and you participate in today use automation. And automation continues to be important, and it's going to rise, it's going to increase. There's a lot of processes, however, that are not relying on machines. And we human beings, we have our dexterity and our mobility and our brains, and a lot of times we're more efficient to program than a machine. And I think that's part of what augmented reality is. That's the story. That's part of the compelling motivation to introduce AR. And I'll be telling you a little bit more about that. So I think those of you who are here also know that these information systems are evolving very, very rapidly. They're hard to keep up with, but we need to continue investing so that the information does get to the user, the right information at the right level, at the right time. In context is how we say it. And I think that we also need to keep in mind, why is that information coming? Well, it's to perform tasks. It's to get to the next step, and to do that quickly and with as few errors as possible and as high compliance as possible, and just to meet the needs of our customers. So we can foresee that this is the trend. We don't have a date. Everybody's going to arrive at these different level and stages at a different time, but it's the direction in which our companies and technology are leading. They're going. And as I mentioned, automation is important, but human skills continue to provide a great deal of value, and will more so in the future. I think sometimes people are hired to work as shop floor technicians, and they grow into their role as information technologists. They have to become the programmers and IT managers in order to be able to manage the systems, the machines, the many operations that they're responsible for. So that's the background, I think, and if you can agree then that augmented reality has an enormous potential. There's many large companies today who agree with that, and one of them is Microsoft. Microsoft collaborated with Trimble. Maybe some of you know this company, quite large company in our AEC and other industries. And I'm going to just show you a minute or a minute and a half of a video that was produced a couple of months ago showing their vision. And I bring this up and I'm going to share it with you because of the...
People aren't good at visualizing 3D.
Microsoft HoloLens is a head-mounted, self-contained computer that
This is not supposed to be a promotion about Microsoft HoloLens. It's supposed to be a promotion about the value of seeing
data. The physical model as a focus point for the team to collaborate around. And you get the hologram with the flexibility, with the ability to run quick iterations.
You'll see how we've brought in the courtyard that you suggest.
Uh-oh, the internet. See, I said the internet was looking so good.
You see that mouse go off the screen into holographic space, and you're then interacting with the hologram with the mouse.
The thing that we can do for architects is really give them much higher confidence around decision making. One way we can do that is we can allow them to literally immerse themselves in the scene that they're building and see street side how the building's going to look.
From street side.
Visualizing design data in the context of the real environment is a much better way to make sure that the design is implemented correctly on site.
This is my favorite part.
Microsoft HoloLens allows you to collaborate with somebody regardless of distance, like they were there. Hello there.
Hey Igor, where they're trying to put this door, there's a beam behind here.
I'm looking at this beam. We're interacting with it about a problem that we can see and being able to solve that problem with all the data that we need in front of us in real time.
In the real world.
When I'm talking about
So that's just trying to make it a little bit more real, a little bit less theoretical, less academic. So I think that one of the important things here is that it is based on this deep information system that I spoke and described about a few minutes ago, and they're able to share and they're able to collaborate in real time. These information systems are getting deeper and more complex. I mentioned it several times due to the integration of sensor data, big data, Internet of Things, concepts that we're now getting more and more comfortable with. And as those things get deeper embedded into our information systems, we need to add different new systems to help visualize the information that they contain, that's in the information system. And with this new visualization in context, we can have the most relevant data coming to the user, the freshest data, perhaps even accurate as much as possible, to reduce the time that it takes for a person to perform a task or to find some information, particularly sensitive when the information is rare or the task is complex. So I think you're going to be hearing more about this today. One of the other benefits of having information visualized is that you can start to use the resources that you have better, the physical resources as well as the human resources at your disposal. And so many people are thinking today of bringing in a remote expert from a central location to support a much more distributed workforce, wherever the problems occur. And so this is certainly one dimension of resource use. And by combining fresh data in context with support and good resource use, we can have fewer errors, and then with fewer errors and systems that track what's happening in real time, can capture all of the different steps, their fulfillment. This can increase the compliance without necessarily increasing the overhead involved in that user's cognitive load. And when you think about this, the things on the left-hand side, all those attributes on the left-hand side are increasing, and the parameters, if you will, on the right-hand side are decreasing. And together, when you combine the reduction in time, error, and costs, you're improving the performance of your company. So this is the vision, and this is the vision shared by those of us in this room. But we know that augmented reality is not always clearly understood. A lot of people think it's an entertainment solution or a game. Some other people think it's a shopping or tourism application. They think it's an app. There's an app for that, right? Because they've seen it used in consumer environments and promoted in the media. And there are many people who also think that augmented reality is something you put on your face. Right, it's a piece of hardware. Well, you know, it's more than that. It does involve some hardware components, but it's not just something you put on your face, and it's not a VR, and it's not an information snacking system like this. You know, augmented reality it's difficult to define in the end. It's a broad concept. You know, I don't even feel comfortable defining it because the definition depends on who you're speaking with. So I'm not going to put it up on the screen, but I hope that you will, over the course of the last 10 minutes, have understood what I'm talking about. It's the real-time visualization in context for a variety of benefits, and it's difficult to define. But whatever it is and the vision that it provides, there are numerous roadblocks, and this event is one of those efforts to help you address some of those. Some of the roadblocks are presented by your IT or information system department. They have concerns about the security of these systems. They're new, and we have past experience that new introduction of devices can introduce new risks. Scalability. When you think about every experience having to be manually encoded and manually set up and designed, this is not something that can scale at the level of thousands or millions of tasks across hundreds of locations and so forth. So, and integration. What about integration? You know, many of the companies here will speak about how they envisage that happening, but we're still at a very, very early stage with respect to getting the support that we need from the IT departments to address the issues of scalability, integration, and risk. And finally, I think if you are, you know, if you're in a CFO's seat and you're being asked to support this type of an investment, you're going to want to know what are the costs and what are the benefits. And I hope we're going to be able to speak about those casually, but there isn't one answer, and there isn't an answer that we give you today that will be valid for the next year, let alone the next 6 months. I think it all depends. It is really what it depends on the use cases and what your investment will be. So our vision is that we can address many of these challenges, and that we can deepen our understanding and appreciation of the potential that is envisaged by having customers, such as many of those in the room, customers who are in large companies, who can anticipate. They see this emerging because they are strategic, they're thinking strategically, they're acting and investing, and they have needs, they have requirements that they can communicate to providers of technologies, not just components or hardware or software, but even systems integrators. And that through this integration or collaboration between the customers and the providers, assisted by the participation of non-commercial entities such as the AMRC, other research institutes and universities and trade schools. Together, this more vibrant ecosystem of solutions and customers is going to grow. We're at the very early days, but this is our vision and how our association, the AR for Enterprise Alliance, sees the world. Now, it's fine to draw a pretty picture, but you have to have a lot of text to go with it. You have to weigh the concept with the actual the lists of industries of which we're speaking. And I don't want to tell you that this is not a randomly selected list of industries. These are industries that have a couple of things in common. First of all, they have a lot of things in the physical world. They have fleets of cars, fleets of ships and planes, millions of miles of pipes, or what I've recently called our linear assets, pipes and posts and lines and all kinds of things that they share in the physical world that they have to maintain, deploy, operate. And these another attribute that they share is that they are mature. By and large, these are very mature industries, and small improvements in efficiencies can bring about very significant financial benefit. So the industries that's 15 industries that we are very fond of, and we hope that you will be representing and today, as well as joining your colleagues in those industries in the future to talk about augmented reality. Non-commercial entities are also very important because they bring sort of an acceleration force. They help us to resolve key technical as well as political and policy questions in between, as well as helping us to train professionals that will go into the workforce, into your companies, into the AR provider companies as well, and begin to make sense of this and be more efficient and scalable, just as we would like them to be. There's a high diversity of different kinds of providers, and we don't have full representation yet, but it is coming. So who do we have in the room, and who do we have as our members? Our members are companies from Europe and North America. They are customers. Some of those you can see, you recognize their names. Some of them you may not recognize. We have 5 large customer entities. 3 of them are non-commercial entities, and the remainder, a little over, so we're at 11 AR provider companies at this time. So how are we going to, what impact are we going to have? We, in partnership with other associations and folks that are concerned about these same topics, are going to have a more diverse ecosystem. So we have more choices, more options, and those who provide solutions are going to have more customers, and not just customers walk in off the street, but informed customers, well-informed customers who know what they need and why. How are they going to use this technology, and what are the steps that they need to introduce it? And together we're going to develop clear processes and best practices so that there'll be better adoption. Now, one of the ways we're doing that is by providing a portal, a website. It's a very rich website, and it's getting richer. It's improving all the time, to try to explain to people, as I have explained to you today, the benefits of augmented reality in your enterprise, to get acquainted with the different ecosystem segments, and it also allows you to visit to get a grip of, what are the upcoming events, what are the developments in this business, and who are the thought leaders that are writing in the blog. Of course, if you'd like to join, if you'd like more information about becoming a member, then you can also visit a membership information page. The URL is not too hard to remember, so I trust that you'll be able to find that. Now, I'd like to dive in a little more deeply into what we'll be doing here today. I think I explained to you what I feel is the concept of a strategic enterprise and why we are here and why we think it's important. We are all working together to try to get ourselves across the trough of disillusionment I think part of the trick here is to not have expectations so high that the technology we have today can't meet them. So we need to have realistic expectations and be communicating also realistically about the requirements. AR is not going to solve world hunger. It's not going to take us to the moon. However, it is going to make a big difference in productivity and the workplace performance. So today we've organized sessions for you to talk about how to introduce, how to select the use cases, how to prepare the data, how to select and train the users, and then track all of this as you go forward. So we will close out the afternoon with a panel discussion, and I trust that you'll enjoy that as well. So we're going to have presentations. They are being recorded, so we ask you to hold your questions until after the presentations, and then we will be able to take them individually.